Sis and tell, sis and tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up. Alison's on TV. And when they hop on the phone, it's the place you want to be. Sis and tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, man. What's going on?
You know, just causing trouble on the social media platforms across the country and the world.
Does this have anything to do with that banana costume you own? Which
No.
I say with a little disdain in my voice.
Why are you disappointed in my banana costume? It brings nothing but happiness, and it has nothing to do with the banana costume. Although it does actually make a cameo at some point in this story because I have to get my $17 worth.
Yeah, I have to tell you, my friend has a daughter who is, I will say, quite adorable and precocious and loves to perform and loves to be the center of attention. And I said, if you need to have a glimpse of your future, I can just introduce you to my sister or introduce her to my sister, and she can see what she has in store because it's going to be a wonderful future. So
Unpredictable.
Okay.
Slightly embarrassing.
I will allow you to tell a story that involves a slight mention of the banana costume. That's my
Okay.
caveat.
It's just a slight cameo, okay?
Okay.
And so, speaking of cameos, a celebrity did make a cameo in this, and I should say, quote unquote, a celebrity. And it has to do with Instagram. And you can direct message people on Instagram. And there's the stream where it's people you know and you're connected with. They already have approval
Yes.
to talk to you. And the other one are strangers that you don't know. Maybe it's someone you do know messaging you. Mostly it's like people trying to catfish or send you naughty videos or trying to
Okay,
sell
so
you
wait.
something.
I know about I barely know about the Instagram message feature because my friends, for some reason, they'll send these group videos or messages there, and I never check it. So then they have to
Right.
text me or call me to say, go check your Instagram Messenger, or whatever it's called, which seems like a lot of work to get like a video to me. It
Right.
seems to defeat the purpose.
That
But you're
seems-
saying besides Messenger, there's this other folder,
Yes.
like
there's
the
an-
other, like the Facebook Messenger other folder that we've talked
exactly.
about. Okay.
And Instagram's owned by Facebook now. Did you know that?
Well, that makes sense because why make life so easy, right? It's not about one-on-one communication. You have to go down a literal rabbit hole to figure out who's trying to contact you. Because sometimes it may be somebody you're glad got filtered and sent to the other world. And sometimes it's a legitimate person who you might know who wants to contact you.
Right. But either way, I usually like to engage with people in the other folder because maybe, because maybe it'll lead to like a good story to tell on the podcast, which I was just interviewed by this organization called Mistake Club. And I said, if anything bad or embarrassing happens, I just see it as like a story I can tell, either on stage or on the podcast or just to my friends. Like everything is
100%.
everything's a story. Like
Wait. Can we get back to the fact that there's a club called the Mistake Club? What is that?
It's well, I could go into if you just do a Google search for it, but it's about saying that it's okay to make mistakes and you learn from them.
I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
and they have this cute character, and her name is Mistake. And anyways, these Hagit and Myra. I talked to them this
Oh my
week.
gosh, I want to join the Mistake Club.
Right?
That made me feel so much better about my life. By the way, and we're going to get to your story, I promise. This is how we digress. But I was in a meeting, this might be 8 years ago, and there was a foundation presenting to us, and they, instead of putting out an annual report, they put out a failure report. And they detail everything they did wrong, sort of like the Mistake Club, right? But they do it in a pretty robust and very strategic and data-driven way. They do everything that they did wrong and then lessons learned, right? How they're going to improve based on those mistakes. I love that idea. It's that whole concept of, I'm sure you've heard, fail forward, right? And this,
Right.
like that's how we succeed, is by learning or at least tripping over ourselves.
So, you know what? There's also an adult version that's no lessons learned called Effed Up Nights. That where not even making this up. They will pick a category like the tech industry or comedy and people or entertainment really, and people will tell stories of things that they've failed on, but they do not want you to have a lovely little bow at the end to say what you learned from it. In fact, they're like, you are not allowed to have like a lesson learned from this. It's just all about failure.
Purely mess up, right?
Right. So I did one years ago just about when I used to do that series, The Walking Dads with Michael Sokol, and we and we submitted one of the episodes to a film, not a festival, but it was like they would showcase comedic shorts, and it got into it, but the quality was so bad because the camera kept on going in and out, and I had to decide whether I was going to, and I promised them they'd get this video, but that was I couldn't redo it, right? So and they couldn't get an old one with better quality. So I had to decide if I was going to not make good on my commitment and submit something that was not good, or just, so I couldn't put them in a situation where they needed like a certain amount of videos. So anyways, it was awful and embarrassing because I was there and I was like, my eyes were like this. I'm like, oh my God. And we forgot to to do so many things because it was all like improvised and unplanned. And you could tell, like, we forgot to like set up it was like the 10th one we had done. Right. But we forgot to set it up for a new audience, saying that it was basically like a cable access show set during the zombie apocalypse times where we were giving parental advice to survive your children during the zombie apocalypse, which is very much pandemic time.
I mean, you were a forebearer, right? Like you're a prognosticator. You were the Nostra Demanda of your generation. You and Michael knew to prepare people for this era before we all knew.
Right.
Even if it was tongue in cheek, I'm telling you.
Oh, that's funny.
All right. So we're getting back to the story. Okay. So you're in Instagram. You check the other folder as part of the messenger folder, which I had no idea existed. And now I'm like eager to get off of this call so that I can go check to see if anybody's been trying to contact me on Instagram. Not that I care really, but.
Yeah, so I have a message from quote unquote Fred Armisen. Do you know who Fred Armisen is?
I do know. Wasn't he on SNL?
Yes, he was on SNL. He's on, remember the Californians? He's always one of the Californians. He's like, oh, we'll take the 504 to, I don't even know the names of the highways in California, except for the Pacific Coast Highway and the 504. But anyways, he's also Portlandia. He created Portlandia.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's basically a sketch show everything's based in Portland, Oregon. And he plays every single character. Like he writes it, he performs in it. He's a fantastic character actor. He's also a musician. Like he plays literally like every single instrument. Aaron and I happened to go see him perform in Atlanta 2 years ago.
What?
Yeah, so but it was really, the show was really geared towards musicians, which he stated. And it was like all these inside jokes. It was like inside baseball for musicians, the entire.
Right. It's sort of like Steve Martin, right? Steve Martin and Martin Short have this two-man show, and some of it's comedy. But really, when Steve Martin does some of these live performances, it's not about his comedy, which I think is utterly genius. It's really about his music, right? And I think he plays banjo and all of these things. So these are these multi-talented artists who love to showcase different parts of their talent.
He just does so much. And my favorite bit that he did do was like, he does accents from around the country. Like you can basically pick any state and he'll do the accent from it.
That's a talent.
Like I would love to get him that recording we have of our family in the 1960s with their Southern Jewish accents.
That's the only accent we can do. Don't give it to Fred. No, he can't have that one. He can have everything else. Don't take the only one we have. Yes.
So,
okay.
And I put Fred in quotes because, first of all, why is Fred Armisen messaging me? There's absolutely no reason. And the message says, hi, thank you so much for loving me and being my fan. I just wanted to reach out and say thank you. Right. So I'm like,
I don't know Fred Armisen. It feels very off brand for him.
So that's what I thought. But then also Aaron said Fred Armisen's so quirky that it kind of is on brand. And I'm like, here's the thing, I don't even follow Fred on Instagram.
So how does he know you love him?
Right. So I think and then I started investigating it. I think at one point I did follow him, but I definitely wrote a comment on when he was coming to Atlanta. I said, like I do to this is something I do often, is I invited him over to my house for Shabbat dinner.
I knew you were going to say that. Oh my gosh.
Because when Jack Black was shooting in town, it was during Passover, and I said, Jack Black, come to my house for Passover. I didn't want him to not have a place to go. So that was like the one time I had like sent a message to him. But Jack Black,
Jack Black. I wanted to come for the Jack Black one. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, if he came for Passover dinner, everyone would have. I really thought he would come. I don't know. I'm so delusional, right? I'm just so, I have such a vivid imagination, right? So I'm like, I'm going to engage with fake Fred. So I do. And I ended up having such a long conversation with him. And I told Aaron, I go, it's not him because he talks like he's from Europe, right? Like, or English is his second language. It was like how Yoda talks, right? Yeah. It was like wording things a little off. And he said, but that's how Fred Armisen talks. So every time I tried to be like, this is not Fred Armisen, Aaron would be like, but maybe it is.
All you need is one little seed of possibility, right?
Right. And then I'm like, maybe this is a future Fred Armisen bit. Maybe he's reaching out to fans, engaging with him, and then he's going to do his next stage show. He's going to do like screen grabs. This is like my crazy
This is how far you went down in your imagination.
This is how I like justify maybe this is Fred Armisen, but also I'm like, but I'm going to mess with him also because this would be great for the podcast. And one of the first things that he says to me is, we need to keep our conversation between just the two of us because, you know, we have my reputation to worry about and I just can't have that happening. And I'm thinking, are you dumb, fake Fred Armisen? Did you see what I do for a living?
Right.
Like, I'm a comedian. I'm a podcaster. Like, I literally take whatever's happening in my life and I tell everyone. I'm not.
And I'm laughing even harder because in the meantime, ironically, I'm seeing Aaron. I think he's trying to go for a bike ride, but it just looks like he's just trying to leave the house as fast as possible after you said that.
So I've got this back and forth between Fred and fake Fred.
Hold on. Back up. So now you're calling him fake Fred, which makes me think you really don't think it's the real Fred. But isn't there a way sort of like Twitter where you're legitimate? You know, I know Twitter has, what's it called?
Verified.
Verified.
So this was a fake account that he had created, or an alternative account he had created. I was the only one he followed. I had not followed back. He created this account just to follow me.
Wait.
Right?
So are you the only person he follows?
The only person he follows, not following anyone else.
And how many people follow him?
No one.
Okay. No. This is getting stranger and stranger.
So I said, of course I say, why would you have a verified account? Why? He goes, I have so many messages on that account. It's hard to have a back and forth with someone. So I created this just to chit chat. Right.
Which it sounds believable.
Right. That sounded believable.
Right.
Okay?
But it is his Finsta, right? I do know what that is. You know Finsta?
It's like a alternative Instagram account.
It's a fake Instagram. This is what all the teenagers do. So they have their one Instagram that is supposed to appease their parents, basically.
Yeah.
And then they have, they call it the Finsta, but it's really the Rinsta. It's the real, because they post the real stuff. They don't want their parents, going, oh, I can't believe you posted that.
So he's, so I'm chit chatting with him, and then I say something, hey, he's got to like go or something. And I said, okay, well, next time you come into town for your next comedy album tour, we'd love to host you for dinner.
You didn't say Shabbat specifically?
I just said for dinner.
Okay.
And he's not Jewish. Jack Black was Jewish, so the Passover made sense.
I gotcha.
But so I just said dinner. And then he said, what would you make me? And I said, well, first I would find out what your dietary restrictions are. And he said, that's so nice. And then he said, hey, are you okay if we move this conversation to either Google Hangouts or WhatsApp? And I said, he goes, do you have either? And I said, I have both. which one do you prefer? And he said, Google Hangouts. And he said, send me what's your email address? So you use basically your Google email for Google Hangouts, and it's just another chat.
Okay.
Right?
So by the way, I think I've heard of Google Hangouts. I am so far. This is like talking to my children sometimes when I talk to you. You're telling me so many things I didn't know. So Google Hangouts is I have WhatsApp. I usually use WhatsApp when I'm traveling abroad because it was before there was like the iMessage and you could do everything via the cloud. But Google Hangouts is just yet another messaging system.
Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, and
There's a lot to keep up with.
So many, and I have them all. Oh, I'm so popular.
Right. So did you give them your Google Hangout code?
It's just my email address, right?
But that's the little. I mean, your personal email is different than your Instagram name.
Let's just say you should see my spam folder because it is awful. I've been using this Gmail account for a decade, and I have so many promotional and spam emails in there. It's like it doesn't matter, right? And all I have to do is block him. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I feel better.
Yes. So don't worry about it. And I mean, literally, I was getting ready to give him my number.
And here's our address for when you're in town. And this is how you follow us. Get us to go on Waze, and you'll find us immediately.
I'm like, what if this is Fred?
Mommy and Daddy are going to be having a conniption when they hear this. You are way too exposed to the world.
I did not.
And I didn't mean your shirt that is currently wide open. I can see your undershirt. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So anyways, the first question he asked me on Google Hangouts, because he wants to get to know me better, is what is your favorite color? Right?
That is the worst question.
So I was like, who is it? Why would you? Is this a 14-year-old? Like, this is bad. And then like all the questions, and he's not good at having a conversation, right? He'll ask a question and he'll move on. And at this point, I'm like, I think his end game is either sexting, right? Or at some point I thought, based on the questions he was asking, he was trying to figure out what my password was. Because he started out, what countries have you visited? What, all this stuff.
Completely, yes.
And so it was, and he wouldn't, like, he'd ask a question, then he would move on. And you are so, as an interviewer, that's just the starting point of a question. You say, what's your favorite color? Oh, it's green. Why green? What is it about that color that's so special to you?
Yeah. Can I just stipulate here, as an interviewer, I have literally never asked that question, either formally or even in passing. Right. I don't care. I really don't care what your favorite color is.
And why would Fred Armisen? And then he has asked me, like, what instruments I play. And this is where I said,
these are all security questions.
Right. These are all security questions. I said,
I hope you said like the tambourine or something funny.
Well, I did say, but it's nothing. I did say I tried to teach myself how to play the banjo when I was 15, and which is true. But if you're Fred Armisen and you're obsessed with music, that's when you really engage with me, right? That's when you're like, oh, let's talk about the banjo. Right. And he didn't. He just asked the next question. And then I started asking him questions. I was like, tell me about the project.
What's your mother's maiden name? Where?
Right, exactly. What are the last 4 digits of your social security number? What are your favorite last 4 digits of your social security number?
Oh, gosh.
So fake Fred is asking all these questions. And I started asking him questions. One of the questions he asked me, by the way, is, he started asking about the kids. And I said, I'm not talking about my kids. And he said,
how did he know you had kids?
I don't even remember. I may have said I have kids, or he saw
Amanda, this is
I don't know.
Going down a really bad place.
Yes, I know. I know.
By the way, I didn't want to tell you, but this is actually a secret recorded episode for I effed up. So or mistake.com or the Mistake Club, whatever you've done.
There are no lessons learned from this.
Right. I'm almost going to beg you to talk about the banana costume because I'm still dying to know how it fits in. Okay.
So we will get there. So he says, are you happy in your marriage?
Or
something like that. So that's what I'm like, this is trying to get to sexting, right? So I said, yes, he's my best friend. I married my best friend. I'm so lucky. And he's like, are you sure?
Oh, no.
So then I start asking him questions about what projects he's working on. And, he's like not really answering stuff. He keeps on saying, I have a new comedy album coming out. That's all he says. I'm working on my next comedy album. It's all stuff that you can Google, right?
Yeah.
So I asked him what pets he has. He asked me about my pets. Security question, right? So, and I don't give him any, specific details. So then he asked for a picture, okay? Which if you Google anything about me, I'm very SEO friendly. Like, you can Google so many things, so many pictures. And I said, why don't you Google it? Just go onto my Instagram account that you're already on. And instead I sent him a picture of me in the banana costume, which if you are real Fred Armisen, you would say, what in the world is going on with this banana costume? Right?
Do you though? Do you do you think even the real Fred would go down that path, or just go, this has been lovely, thank you?
Yeah, he's a quirky guy. I would think he'd want to know more about me running for mayor of my local town.
Of
and
Bananaville, yes.
There's so many. There's banana dances. This banana costume is deep. There's so many stories around the banana costume, and he wanted to know nothing about it. And he asked for me to send another picture. So I sent the most Googleable picture of me on stage.
Why are you sending anything? You are really, oh my gosh.
Because I needed to know, and Aaron kept on saying, maybe it is Fred Armisen.
At this point, he still kept saying, maybe it's Fred.
Yes.
We all know, everybody listening to this story right now knew 12 minutes ago, right, that it was a fake Fred.
She's like, there's no way this is Fred Armisen. No. So anyway, so I asked him a question. He goes, you can just Google that about me. And I said, let's just stop right here, because I will have a conversation with one of my friends, and they could, of course, say, let's Google that, but it ends the conversation. I go, the kind thing to do is to engage with me. You don't just say, go Google about me. I go, I don't care that you're a celebrity. So now I'm pretending like he's actually Fred, right? I'm like, I don't care that you're a celebrity. You have a conversation with me. And he goes, it's just a personal question. I go, no, it's not. It's not a personal question. A personal question is...
Wait, what did you ask him?
More about his projects and what TV shows he was working on, what projects he was working on besides his comedy show. And he said... I go, no, a personal question is asking me if I am happy in my marriage. And
so let's all catch up here. So now you are
I'm getting into a fight.
You are playing mind games with fake Fred, making him think that you think he's the real Fred. Yeah. And in the process, you are dressing him down for what you perceive as rude interactions on the Google Hangout app, which you've now moved to after the fake Instagram Messenger.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm up to speed here on how we're really putting fake Fred in his place, but it feels like you've gone down quite the rabbit hole this time to get there. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. And how many days was this, like, how many days transpired for this all to happen? I'm so scared to ask.
All this is happening over the course of one day.
Oh my God. It feels like 2 weeks. Okay.
And you know what? He spent a lot of time messaging with me, and he kept on saying he was so busy. Then I was like, I'm just going to, be like, look, you're not real Fred Armisen. You're fake Fred. And I said something about that. I said, you're not even real. Why would the real Fred Armisen be messaging with me? And he said, you doubt me? So I said, even God is doubted. And he said, wow.
How long have you been holding that one in your pocket?
I was like, what, you think you're greater than God? Even God is doubted, fake Fred. So then he said, no one has ever spoken to me this way, ever. And then I went off on him, if you think that was going off. Because guess who he is partnered with? Natasha Lyonne, right? Natasha Lyonne.
Now you can see my face. I have no idea who that is.
You don't know who Natasha Lyonne is?
I don't even know what Google Hangout is. Give me a break.
So go Google her, first of all.
Okay.
I need you to look her up.
I mean, I'm going to go to our research department.
Go to our research department. Let me know when you find her.
Oh, Orange is the New Black.
Oh, yeah, she's in Orange is the New Black. She's in Weeds. She's in Russian Doll.
I love her. Yes.
She was, I mean, but that's later in her career. She's been acting since she was a child, but she's like got this like gorgeous reddish hair. She's Jewish. And it's curly. She's got, not her Judaism is not curly, her hair is, but
and anybody who's watched Orange is the New Black. She's the redhead she's named Nikki. She plays Nikki, I think.
Yeah, and she is very she always plays like strong women. She is fabulous, right? Like, you don't mess. Talk about effed up nights. You don't mess with Natasha
Wait,
Lyonne.
so that's his partner, like romantic partner?
Yes, that is his romantic partner.
Oh my gosh, that must be some serious heat going on in that relationship. They're two very strong personalities. That's what I mean.
He's like goofy. I was actually super surprised she was married to him. I picture her, or partnered with him. I pictured her with a musician, just not a comedic musician.
Right.
You know, you picture her with like a rock star, but someone who's shredding the guitar. But anyways, so this is when I go off on fake Fred. And I said, you take Fred Armisen's name in vain. So he is an expert character actor. He's talented at comedic writing, especially dialogue. And he won the heart of the prolifically talented Natasha Lyonne. And you start off conversations with, what is your favorite color? I said, you can do better than this. If you're going to pretend to be Fred Armisen, you needed to be much better at engaging with people and pretending to be him. Right? Go take an improv class.
Please tell me, after that, you never heard from him again. And then 2 days later, you got another Instagram message from the real Fred Armisen who said, thank you for loving me.
So close. So
I want it to be wrapped up in a bow. I want it to come full circle.
He said, he's like, I gotta go. I got a lot of messages I gotta check. He's still not like being like, you know, he's still pretending to be the real Fred. So this is when I decided to block him. And then the next day, I get another follow request from a different Fred Armisen.
No, you didn't.
Yes. So this guy, so his Instagram, the first Finstagram account he created on behalf of Fred Armisen has now gone away. And he has created another one.
Because you were the only follower, by the way.
I blocked him on Instagram also and Google Hangouts. Then he creates a new Instagram account. He's following me and he's following 10 other women. Okay? So I decide...
Are you going to contact the other potential victims?
Yes. So I contacted just two of them. I contacted two other women, and I didn't think either of them would message me back. One of them never did. One of them did right away, and she said, yeah, he messaged me, and I just blocked it. She goes, it's weird because I don't even follow him.
Yeah, by the way, that woman's response is normal. Just so we're putting this all into a nice little bow.
Beginning of this podcast where you had to warn your friend who has a child who's like me, right? Like, I don't do things normally. Okay. I don't need, and also like, I'm like not leaving my house. Like, I need fodder for the podcast.
Okay.
So anyway, so I'm like, this is fake. And I'm feeling less special now, right? Because he's not just messaging me, he's messaging women across the world that he is fake Fred Armisen.
Darn you, fake Fred.
And I'm like, and no offense to the real Fred Armisen, but why would you choose Fred Armisen to be, if you're trying to sext with people, like, why would you choose Fred Armisen? I just do not understand.
And I've been thinking about that for the last 29 minutes because which is the story has taken up the entire episode today, which I'm fine with. But I have been thinking, why Fred Armisen? And I think he's just famous enough and just random enough and just quirky enough to get away with it, right? Because nobody's going to really think, oh, maybe, well, it's like you, like Aaron had planted the seed of possibility. Maybe it is Fred Armisen, right? Any other, if there's somebody who goes over that threshold of fame, right? You're like, it's not him, right? Like there's just, I think this guy did his research, maybe, or at least just randomly drew someone who's sort of semi-famous, you know, or just famous enough to be able to get away with it. Just all he needs It's like when a lawyer, all the lawyer needs to do in a defense is plant a seed of doubt, right? If there's one seed of doubt, they have to let them go.
Right.
All these sexting, creepy stalker people have to do is plant one seed of possibility, and they've got you.
And they got me. And also Aaron, who is
And Aaron. And now
right.
Aaron's going to be meeting Fred Armisen for Shabbat dinner next week.
And I know you just gave me the wrap up, but this is not done because I messaged the real Fred Armisen.
No, you did not.
I did. I said, "Hey, I just want you to know that there's someone creating fake accounts with your name, pretending to be you, and trying to, quote unquote, befriend women." I never thought he would message me back.
By the way, he's trying to befriend people.
But guess what?
No, he did not.
The real Fred Armisen. He returned my message.
No, he did not.
He did. It's his verified account. And he said, "That's so lame. Thank you for letting me know." And that's when I was like, maybe I've been messaging with the real Fred this entire time. Is this going to be on a stage show? So I decided to message him one more time, the real Fred, and say something from our conversations that would mess with him to make him think she knows it's me, right? So I just pulled in the conversation.
So now you're playing mind games with the real Fred in case he turns out to be the fake Fred?
Yes.
And then what did you say?
I just pulled in something like an exact question.
I was going to say, what's your favorite color?
Right, something like that. Oh, I should have said that. I didn't. Maybe I'll go back and say it. No, I'd asked him a specific question about a comedy writer that he works with that I know from Adult Swim from back in the day, who told me this crazy story about being stabbed. So the fake Fred said he didn't know that story. So I messaged the real Fred and said, "You should find out about that story of this dude being stabbed. It's really good." And he co-writes a show with him, Moonbase 8. But anyway,
I will say that's one of your best callbacks ever, that you actually heard back from real Fred, and fake Fred made it all possible, because I doubt you would have ever reached out to Fred Armisen. Well, you actually did 2 years ago, but
right. But what a nice guy.
What a nice guy.
So real Fred Armisen, stand-up guy. Natasha Lyonne has fallen in love with him. He's got to be pretty cool, right? A little kooky, but who isn't? You know, company included. Obviously, because I spent literally a full day messaging with fake Fred.
I'm exhausted. I feel like I was right there with you.
Well, thanks for listening to the latest Sis and Tell podcast. Fake Fred, if you're listening, my last 4 digits of my social security number are secret. I'm not telling you. But thanks for listening. Share us with your friends and family.
As always, this has been Amanda and Alison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.
Sis and Tell.